Hello, 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 hello. BritishPeoplesLeague.com. BritishPeoplesLeague.com at you this October the 12th, 2014. How are you today? Hope that didn't sound like a recorded message. Glad you tuned in. Nice to have you here. Hope to stir up the passions, give you some insight as to where we're heading this October the 12th, 2013 edition of the BritishPeoplesLeague.com show. Yours truly, John Beattie, International Director of the British People's League. Twice a month. Here we are, keeping our word. As I always say, it's tense. Got to keep your interest up. Got to keep you stirred. But, I can't sit here and scream and yell. Okay? Try and hit topics of interest. But basically, it's a welding of people interested in the British People's League, friends of the British People's League, and our European cousins as well, of course. Speaking of European cousins, there's a good name in the United States I recently discovered for white people called the League of European Americans. League of European Americans. And there's some good people in there. And yes, every now and then somebody throws in the, I call it the swastika business from the Second World War. Well, that's a no-no with the British People's League. And as I say, League of European Americans got a lot of good people, but I just don't know what it is. Is it young people frustrated? But I have to defriend people, take them off when you see that symbol from the Second World War. It just doesn't do the white cause any good. It stirs up memories of the war, and it just doesn't do the cause any good. So I implore upon you young ones who are patriotic at heart, just forget the symbol from the Second World War, okay? Had to get that off my chest. Sort of ties into the English Defence League. English Defence League, many patriots watching this show, of course, know the story inside out. Street demonstrations against the multiculturalism. Now that is the feeling of most of the street lads. The patriots, the rank and file, the chums, the mates. But the leadership had a different idea. This pair of guys at the top, they were trying to use patriots, saying we're multicultural. Oh, sure, they had the, no Sharia law in there, but big deal. There's a photograph from the English Defence League in one of their demonstrations, the two leaders hugging a transvestite. Hugging a transvestite at their rally, and the transvestite sticks the rump up to be photographed. But hey, 90% of the young patriots involved in those street demonstrations could care less about the leadership. They were out there on the streets protecting the nation, the peoples that their grandfathers and great ancestors all had wars to preserve. That sacred isle, the motherland, Britain, as we used to know it. Well, things now are almost beyond the point of no return. The hope that this boy has is that the young street people, if they don't get a genuine patriotic leader for the English Defence League, I strongly would urge young people to link up with the National Front United Kingdom. They've had a core shell for decades, and the pioneers of the National Front certainly have had street smarts. Well, they're all gray-haired like this boy now, but the people like Richard Evans can certainly steer them in the proper fashions. So that's this boy's recommendation. The English Defence League are on the streets, and the streets is where it's at. I wish we could do it here in Canada. I do have young people ready for the van plan, and you have to read way down amongst the blog of the BritishPeoplesLeague.com and reread the van plan. But there just doesn't seem to be the interest, the passion to hit the bricks, to hit the streets. The streets is where it's at. Multiculturalism is everywhere. And the hardest thing to throw off is when fairly decent people end up marrying, I don't know, somebody from one of the third world countries or whatever, and then they got children. So they hear the likes of Beattie sticking up for our old British stock, our old British race around the globe with our European white cousins, and then of course they think we're targeting him because he's married into the multi-cult. Well, that's a mistake that he's made, and he can live with it, but they don't see it that way. Everybody's just la-di-da, dancing through, tiptoe through the tulips, praising Alice Cooper. There are thousands of young women, especially in America, who are linking up. This League of European Americans is unbelievable, the amount of decent, healthy-looking, intelligent young gals that are hooked in, linked in. And this boy has become friends with them on Facebook so we can exchange patriotic views. And my personal Facebook is listed not far down on the BritishPeoplesLeague.com homepage. Now, we've talked about hitting the streets, of course. Those who have relatives in Britain and have visited, everyone sees what goes on. I don't need to spend time on these shows saying, you know, whites are being popped off on street corners in Bradford and Birmingham, in Britain in the motherland, or in Philadelphia in the United States, Los Angeles. It's an invasion, as our lawyer friend Don says down in California. I don't need to tell you people that. It's there to see. What these shows are about is to keep us welded together, keep us unified, and as things get worse, we will grow and grow. It's a safety valve for our peoples. Oh, now, of course, we are fortunate to have the knowledge that there are books out there, magazines published by candor.org.uk. CANDOUR.org.uk. They are in a unique position to be almost neutral with the internal quarrels between groups over in the motherland. I believe they're going to have a book stall at the John Tyndall Memorial coming up in the motherland. Candor, CANDOUR.org.uk. Get in touch with them. Check them up through Google, and you'll be very pleased with their layout. Very professional indeed. It's early in the morning here, folks. The old guy isn't awake yet. Last video, we talked about the analytics, Google Analytics. They're fairly accurate. But what figures are not accurate are the views of these shows. I have absolute proof of people clicking into these shows from all over the place, from all over the white world. And they number in the hundreds of clicks and views for each show. I mean, some shows, obviously, you can't have a winner every time, but the figures just aren't accurate. I can't blame YouTube as such. It's just out there, whatever. I mean, when the Google Analytics show 20-minute viewership of, say, 75 people one morning, and the figures haven't gone up on the pages of the views when you fiddle around and you find the views section, well, then obviously the views are not being recorded fairly whatsoever. And then the earliest videos, when we started January 2013, the earliest videos are frozen, about 7 or 8 of them. If you check it out, you'll notice that 301 views, period, frozen. Now, I've heard that there's adjustments set on the internal workings of the computer world to prevent people from pumping up their own figures, and they all froze at 301. Well, St. George's program, which was a record around the 534 mark, it didn't freeze at 301. So that knocks that out. So I just want to clear, okay? Because, you know, we have people who don't like British Canadians, multicultural types, and they like to snicker and say, well, they're not getting any views. Not true, not true at all. So here we are, October 12th. 2 days away from the American Columbus Day. I believe Columbus was a white man. I do believe Columbus was a white man. So you patriots, Italian Americans, white boys one and all, white ladies one and all, enjoy your Columbus Day. And we here in Canada, we will be enjoying our Thanksgiving. We can think back to the origins of these dates, and of course, they were white, bright, and beautiful. And just as I say those words, it's hard to condemn people who flow with the multiculturalism. It's everywhere. It's everywhere except the small villages, which is why I live up here in central Ontario. Village territory. The villages in the motherland, the villages in Australia, New Zealand. That's where you find the root peoples. Same with our European cousins, whether it's Germany, Holland. The villages is where it's at. That's where the roots are. Think about it. The villages is where it's at. Now, is that good? Well, it's good, but the white flight into pockets. If you look at a map of, say, Ontario, Canada, outside of the, Toronto and London, Ontario, a couple of big cities, Windsor. Look at the small, I think I got a runny nose here, folks. Look at the small cities. You're going to have to excuse me for 1 second. No, I guess I don't have what's required. I don't edit these shows. I'm not flotching out that little pinch. Got to be natural with you. I'm as human as the rest of you. But yes, back to the city. So you got the map of Ontario out there. Dare I call it a war map? We have to see the villages on the wall, pinpoint the towns that are still white, still majority white, our peoples, our ancestry, before the multiculturalism simply blots us out. And of course the new arrivals from Third World, a lot of them are nicey. Wouldn't you be if you're dropped in the middle of somebody's strawberry patch? Somebody else did the work, somebody else planted the strawberries, and they're there to collect them with us. Join right in after our pioneers did all the work. As Lawyer Don likes to say in California, you didn't see the Mexicans pouring in when the work was being done 100 years ago, but now that everything is looking rosy, the white man has developed, well, now they pour in. Well, same with the Ontario towns, or look at the small villages of the motherland. That's where we're left. There has to be action in the streets one day to put a stop to the massive immigration. As I've said in other shows, I give the Conservative Prime Minister Harper here in Canada some credit. They are trying. They are freezing down on illegal immigrants, and they're doing something about it. Not perhaps in the waves that yours truly would do as a hard-hitting lobby force. Legal, of course. Legal, of course. But eventually, to the streets we must go. As did the young members of the English Defence League. And I'm going full circle here, speaking directly to viewers who went out on the English Defence League demonstrations. You were brave. You were the bravest of the brave. And I hope you're still at it. But as I said, The National Front have the organizational structure. They have gray-haired people such as this boy who are there, who have been through the mill, who know the score. They'll keep you in proper line. And just don't let that swastika thing sneak in through the back door. Those are agent provocateurs, even authorities who push that symbol in there to smear and smear and smear. And then there are those who say, well, who cares about the smears? Well, if you want to keep that symbol out, you've got to make a clear stand. I've avoided the topic, but the stand has to be taken now because there's so many patriotic groups out there that are doing a great job and they're getting our peoples together. But that one little spider symbol, the spider, can cause a lot of shivers. So when you see the spider coming near a patriotic organization, squash the spider. Oh, Beattie's getting soft. What do you mean getting soft? It's common sense. We want white, patriotic, North Americans, British stock, European ancestry. We want to grow. There's a minimum of friends on my Facebook page. Have a look at some of them. Very intelligent gals and guys. We don't want the boat rocked by elements that just don't work, okay? That bring back bad memories. Enough said on that topic. I'm perplexed that I didn't have to bring it up. I think the fact that when I suggest to people things they could do, I don't hear back from some. Now, one activity for sure that can be carried out, instead of yakking at Tim Hortons, bitching about the multi-cult, why not do it in your homes with your friends? Private get-togethers. I've discussed this in the past. Private get-togethers. You can build enthusiasm in the home. And there's so many groups in the States, the money wasted on hotel meetings is ridiculous. They get 50, 75 people attend get-togethers for white patriot causes. But look at all that money that was given to the hotel and the catering, etc. Come on! 50 to 75 people can squeeze into an apartment, for God's sake. Small bungalow, whatever. You're having a birthday party. You're having a celebration of some kind. And then you're discussing how to recruit friends, how to draw them in. There's strength in numbers, of course. There's a feeling of solidarity when you're with friends together. Invite people to get-togethers in your homes. Okay, I suppose we'll call today's broadcast English Defence League, National Front. As we said a bit earlier, we want you to enjoy thoroughly your Thanksgiving here in Canada. Enjoy Columbus Day in America, regardless of the multi-cult screens. Friends in the motherland, keep your chins up. We're with you all the way. One day the British People's League will send a contingent over to join in the marches. That's a promise. Well, folks, that's it for the first broadcast in October. Second broadcast in October will be coming forward as suggested. And February, we're doing the dailies. Thank you very much for clicking in. And hey, especially hi to all the new friends on Facebook, which you can find on BritishPeoplesLeague.com homepage. Goodbye, Candor.